Hi everyone. We have, as Magda has said, it's wonderful panel. I would like to quickly introduce. I think Ram, all of you know well, so need not to introduce, but I can tell you that he is my mentor, my coach. So I would introduce him that way. And so, starting with a wonderful lady that we have on our panel today. Her name is Padmini Rathore. She is the CEO of one of the top 10 law firms in India called DSK Legal. Then we have Ilan from Chennai. He is the CEO of a very well-known company from Chennai, India. It's BGR Energy Systems. He's heading one of the key divisions there as a president and chief executive officer. And then we have Venkat. Venkat is currently the chief operating officer of most reputed group, Tata Group company, Tata Chemicals. He's heading their nutrition business there. And all three of them are, I would say, in service CEOs and also coaches, because we have many CEOs who have opted coaching as a second career. So they are ex CXOs and current coaches. However, here we have all three of them are in service CEOs who are also progressive coaches. And Venkat, along with me, he is a master certified coach. And Padmini and Ilan are progressive coaches. They are currently on their coaching journey. So the purpose of this conversation with them, and I would request Ram to come in whenever he wants to, is to introduce the view from the top, that how as CXO, how sitting in that top chair, how they got in contact with coaching, how coaching has perhaps brought some shifts in their life, and how coaching is helping them to make those key decisions, high stakes decisions, which are helping their organizations and their team to move forward. So it will be a view first from the ring side and then going into deeper into their minds as to how coaching is benefiting them and what are the views from the top. Okay. So Ram, before we start, anything you would like to add or anything you would like to set as a context?
Very, very briefly, I think it's an amazing new initiative. Thanks you, Ujjaval, for suggesting this and now anchoring it. You forgot to mention that Venkat is MCC coach, just like the
Yes,
two of
I
us.
absolutely.
Uh, yeah, so one of our challenges, not really challenges, in a sense, ambitions, vision that we had was that in India, we create the largest number of master coaches, um, probably more than many of the other larger countries. And we are not yet there, but Kochari alone has produced about 50 odd master coaches so far, which is sort of third in the rank in terms of countries in the world. And soon, probably in the next few years, we would probably overtake the North American countries, which are heading the first two positions. So one of the things that would probably maximally help in this process is to have as many corporate leaders as possible engaged in this field of coaching, because contrary to most of what is being constantly being bandied about, I think the corporate world has probably the greatest to offer in terms of the betterment of the world, if only it can be channelized the right way. What is usually put out there is all the negatives, but the amount of positivity that can emerge from the corporate space is enormous. And coaching can tremendously enhance that directional shift. And one of the most important things that we would like to happen is to see the culture of coaching in leadership, because the competencies of coaching and leadership, as Mark earlier said, are so similar. So I'll just leave it at that. I really am here to learn from the three of them, as well as you, Ujjwal. So
Sure.
I'll just mute myself and watch. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Ram. Okay. So it's a free flowing conversations. If there are any questions, you could you could put in there on the chat box, and we'll be happy to take it as and when uh, mostly as per your expectations. We will take it up immediately, but the moment as it supports the flow, we'll take that up. So thank you in advance, and thank you for your time for joining us today from different time zones of the world. And my first question to all three of you, and you can decide the order how you want to respond to, but if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and when did you come into touch with coaching, when you learned about coaching, and what was your first contact with coaching, and we can then build it from there.
Probably I will start. I'm basically a mechanical engineer and then management graduate. It's somewhere around 2007, near that period. I was picked up from a regional setup to head the national setup, where a young boy takes over fairly senior level people reporting and needs to deliver a growth of doubling the turnover at Pune, shifting from Chennai to Pune. It
Okay.
was the first time the languages are different. Pune talks more of Marathi, even in the boardroom. And the average age group of people who have been superseded by me is 55 plus. And uh, that was a time first contact. A person was attached to me to coach me. I was not aware about the coaching concept. But today, from a general manager at All India Sales, I have grown 5 levels to when I left that company as a vice president of the business head in a shorter term of 3 years. The challenges the coach has helped me to overcome was managing the people, accepting the reality, and building on the competitive advantage to the organization. And I took over at 120 crore, and when I left, it was 270 crore, which was not imaginable in the international competition into that segment. It's an auto OEM segment. And from there, I came back and took over here. So, without knowing the process of coaching, I had the first instant, and that has helped tremendously to sit before you today.
Okay, sure, sure, great. Thank you, Ilan. Yes, Padmini, Venkat.
I'm happy to go next. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Ujjaval, Ram, and Pucharya for inviting me to be a part of this esteemed panel. My first brush with coaching happened, I think, in 2010. I had just joined a law firm, and I'm not a lawyer. So this was a new experiment that the firm was conducting, where they were getting professionals like me on board to professionalize the firm. And 1 year in the law firm, I realized that I was very, very lost, and trying to work with a bunch of lawyers. I don't know if any of you have had the good fortune to do so. Is not an easy task. So my boss at the time suggested that I should maybe take some help. Now at that time, the distinction between mentoring and coaching wasn't very clear, honestly. And so we hired someone who came on board, and I did 1 or 2 sessions with him, and he insisted that he was a coach. So it wasn't mentoring, it was coaching. uh, I really enjoyed the 2 sessions. Unfortunately, we couldn't continue because he had to move out of the country. uh, I don't remember a lot of what we discussed, but I do remember the feeling that it left me with. So even now, I mean, almost 10 years later, I remember how light I felt. Felt like a cloud had lifted. So I realized that there is something to this process. The reason why everyone's talking about it now, I know that it works because I tried it on myself.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for me, I've not been able to bring it into the firms till now, but I hope to change that someday.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Okay, Venkat.
Yeah. Uh, how did I get into coaching is that sometime in 2014, I was working in Rallis, and my chairman, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, all of you are aware of him. He retired as a Tata Sons director. He was also the chairman of Rallis. He felt that it would help me to have a coach, and he spoke to my boss, who was the MD, uh, and said that why don't you have Venkat go through having a coach. And so my boss told me, yeah, there are three people, three coaches who are there, and you can choose. And the first one, he gave me the name of Ram, and said you have a talk to him, and you can get to know about it. So I was in Bombay, he was in Bangalore. So we had a chat, and then I had gone to Bangalore and had a I didn't know much about coaching and what it does, etc., at that point of time. So I had a good discussion with Ram, and then I came back and told my boss, yeah, I'm going to take up this offer which the company has given me with Ram as a coach. And that's how I first got into coaching. And obviously, at that point of time, and when I spent time with Ram, I first imagined that as a coach, he would tell me what I need to do, how do I progress in my career, or stuff like that. That's what I thought when I started it. And the first session that we had, he said, what do you want? So I said, what is it? What do I want? And he said, no, what are the things that you want to work on? So, that was a pretty surprising thing, when you first come in contact with it, that the client has to say what does he or she want, and articulate it. So that's how my, I was a client to Ram as the coach. And this was sometime in 2014. So I went through my session, and I found that I did get a lot of value in that, and I
Mhm.
continue to be with Ram. uh, you know he became a good friend, philosopher, guide, as I would call. And then in 2017, he then said that, since Venkat, I know you well, and you seem to I've always had this flair on on the human side of it. So he said, why don't you join the coaching? And that's how I got into it, and then I've been on this journey. Uh, so I joined as I got introduced as a client, didn't realize that one day I would become a coach.
Great. So, what I'm hearing from all three of you is that you first received coaching in a client mode, right? You got coached by someone. So, just linking it what Venkat has just mentioned, but I would like to hear from him as well, that upon receiving the invitation from Ram and Padmini and Ilan in your own way, please help us understand that what was your motivation to join a coach training program. So, in other words, what prompted you to come on this side of the table and pursue coaching as a certification process and perhaps become a coach? Like Venkat is already master coach and both of you are on that journey. So, please help us to understand.
Anyone want to take on
Which
or?
order?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ilan, we can take the same order. Yeah.
I would also like to add a beautiful question has come from the chat box,
Hmm.
adding to Ujjwal's question. How do you see the difference between coach delivery, delivering sessions, and CXO using the skill? I think both could come out as a answer today. Uh, Probably when we are in a journey in CEO, we are sitting on a tiger. We have to keep running. The day we get down, tiger will eat. Whether the market good or bad, COVID or no COVID, the stakeholders expect you to bring in a growth of 20% to 25% top line, bottom line, and cash in hand. You have to hand over the profit to them at the end as a dividend. In the beginning, it's a good challenge. It comes with all benefit. You get all powers for you. You can make decisions. You get your money. You get a team. Start with 50. You manage today. I'm managing 650 people. But once you get into this, you get a cultural challenges. You get a market challenges. First year growth may be 20%. Second year growth may be 15%. Next year is a challenging growth with the same level of profit. Today, what has happened when we sit on the CXO chair, you are alone. You wanted to have some kind of a dialogue about your decision making. You have nobody. You cannot go and talk to your junior. They will brand you useless. You cannot go to the stakeholders or a board and check with you. So when we were thinking about a lot of dilemma, how to manage our particular growth, it came in as a thought process. This is something we need to understand ourselves and move on. So
Mm.
probably I would say that the last few months for us has changed us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As a CEO sitting in the chair, we start in the morning and we tell people what to do. We never listen. We tell them this is a decision, this is go ahead, move it, because time is money. We presume we know the best of best and we make the people to run. We believe keeping control is the power. What happens over a period of time, you lose the best of best people in this. You don't have a teamwork. Your creativity of the team is gone. Today, we understood what is level 3 listening. We understood how do we sit in their chair and listen to them. We are able to see, first of all, labeling emotions. We believed demonstrating anger is the power of a CEO. From there, looking at them, controlling emotions and putting ourselves into the chair made a major shift in our approach, empowering people. The change in the last few months, what I could see in my organization or in me is there's a lot of trust in the people has been built up. We always put a policeman to find out what is going wrong in the organization. Today, people come out open and say, this is the issue. Then this is an idea. They themselves are able to come out. Somewhere we were trying to look at the power of a leader who's an inspiring leader. Today, when I walk into the office, there are a lot of good mornings. Earlier, we don't look at people before I go into the room. Ultimately, in the last few months, we are able to see a customer-focused initiative in the organization. In the worst market conditions, the team was able to come out with innovative ideas, and we could able to get a market share of the best in the history of our organization in the last 10 years of my tenure, 90%. To sum it up, it has created a self-awareness as an individual, what we are doing. It has created an empowering leader in our mind. And it has motivated the team as well as ourselves. We get charged up to this. Yes, the concept of coaching, it took some time for us to understand. We believe we know everything. And we have not understood the leadership angle of our approach. Stakeholders are happy, profitability goes up, productivity goes up. People are able to voluntarily declare a salary cut in the COVID time, and we have not lost anybody. This is a remarkable difference we are able to bring.
Hmm. Amazing. Amazing, Ilan. And as we are in that space, anything Padmini and Venkat would like to add Any perspectives there?
So I'll go next. Uh, our business is all about people. Law firms, it's all about people. Every evening, the intellectual capital of the firm walks out
Hmm.
and keep hoping that they're going to walk back in the next morning. Our clients are people. So it's very important for me to manage expectations, energize them, motivate them. And for the past year or so, I have been feeling that I spend a lot of time in having conversations with people. And unlike uh, other organizations, the law firm structure is a partnership structure. So you have to work a lot with building consensus before taking any decision, which requires me to, keep all the stakeholders, engaged at all points of time. So I realized that if so much of my life goes in having these conversations, in making sure that people are happy, people are motivated, then I need to learn to do it better. And that's where the whole thinking started, that maybe I needed to get trained as a coach, because I may start looking at things differently and I may start doing my job better. So that's where it started from. Also, the realization that when you deal with people, there is so much that comes out, emotions. And I was feeling at some points, I used to get uncomfortable when there was too much emotion being projected in conversations. I used to get uncomfortable. But then I realized when the pandemic started that these conversations were important and they needed to get more real. So honestly, when I got into coaching, I got in because I wanted to work on myself in order to do my job better.
Sure.
Yeah. Um, when I was a client to Ram, there was a lot of introspection that happened, and there were things that I identified that I need to work on. Um, One of the, if I rattle out a few things which made me change, when I was a client, and then that actually made me decide that I should get into coaching, because it would take me more in the journey. I would never say that one is always perfect, but it's more a journey towards perfection. For example, like what Ilan said, that one always worked on the principle that you uh, tell people what is to be done, rather than wait for to hear from what others are saying. Um, the standard way of instructions. The second is that one tended to, I'm going back 6 7 years back, or in 2014 2015 when I started this. One tends to be a lot more reactive. You tend to react to a situation the way it happens. And so this was something which I consciously worked with Ram, and that helped me to realize where I am. What has actually happened in the whole process is that one has become far calmer. I won't say that one has reached nirvana. I don't think, it's a journey, like I said. But if I compare myself pre-coaching and post-coaching, I give instructions less. I ask questions more.
Mm.
Second is that I speak much less than what I used to do in the past. I hear more. I listen more.
Mm.
And the, the third important thing that I have learned over a period of time is that I'm willing to give up, even in team meetings, even though I may be the senior most person conducting the meeting, I'm willing to
Mm.
give the uh, power of conducting the meeting to somebody else.
Mm.
I don't feel threatened about it. I don't feel that, God, I'm the senior most, I should be the person asking the questions. I don't feel threatened. And the last part of it, which is something which I have learned very well, and it's been a very good thing, is that I've learned to be vulnerable, accept mistakes, and say that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know this area. So what? uh,
Mm.
be open. I mean, the typical thing is that one always used to feel that, as a boss, never accept that you don't know anything. I mean, you want to send a man to the sun. Yeah, I can do it. That's a standard thing that all of us think about. But coaching helped me realize that you know it's far simpler and easier to be open and vulnerable, and it gives you great sense of joy. So it has made me much calmer. It has made my life more peaceful,
Hmm.
and definitely, it has also resulted in better productivity and outcomes. But it's not so that one does not insist in an office what needs to be done. It's not that one has given up or abdicated responsibility. That never
Hmm.
happens.
Hmm.
But you're willing to go through the process in a more humane manner.
Wow. Great. So I hear some keywords if I can play it back for everyone. So from all three responses, I see some great application of self-regulation, detachment, letting go, presence, listening, vulnerability. So our question is that, as somebody has also expressed in the chat box, so how do you manage to actually do it? Because knowing something and practicing something are two different things, right? So how are you able to self regulate yourself, especially when you're sitting in that chair, top chair, where all eyes are on you and you are managing internal and external stakeholders? How do you manage to balance between your role as a coach, your mindset as a coach, and your mindset as a CEO? So is are they two different things in your mind, or they now do both roles have merged? So please tell us about how do you manage your internal dialogues, and then how do you actually practice these things: awareness, presence, detachment, all that stuff. So perhaps Ilan, Padmini, Venkat, or reverse order, whichever the way you want.
Yeah, I think Ilan wants to start off, so let him.
Sure.
No, I will definitely give you the first chance of opportunity to you after learning coaching.
Okay.
Look,
Wonderful.
I would say like this. Many of us are aware of our problems.
Hmm.
We are clear that we are missing somewhere. You see, you don't achieve all your result easily. And when we have a challenging situation on the growth, we'll sit down and do an introspection. And we are aware and we wanted to understand how do we change ourselves. It so happened that we are not able to find a step.
Hmm.
Kocharya came in between. I'll put in a couple of points. Uh, First success for all of us. There is a good teaching process which you brought in. After all this session, I need to go through the recording and I need to write my assessment of it, which means I need to understand the concept. I need to evaluate the concept, practicability. I would say that the teaching method, it was the coaching method, what you people adopted, made us to gel the concept, live with the concept, and then come out. So
Hmm.
beyond that, after some time, you cannot change yourself. You understood what is. After you start feeling that feeling angry is wrong in the approach, you never feel angry.
Hmm.
Coming back to the next question, there cannot be a coach different and CEO different. CEO is able to perform if he follow the concept of coaching.
Hmm.
What are we talking about? We are talking about changing the person into a beautiful perfection. We are talking about emotional control. We are talking about emotional intelligence. It's simple. What is emotional intelligence? Before you give any decision, you are looking at the emotion of the other person who is sitting at it.
Hmm.
Now, it groomed the CEO to perform in the challenging scenario. Earlier, we are in the seller's market. India was doing anything you can sell and make margin of 30, 40%. Market opened up. All international players are there. We are trying to look around how do we grow and survive. One, the human capital at the topmost chair has become a high cost asset, which we are trying to get a return on capital employed on ourselves. And it is, we become one. We become a coach where we need to coach, and we become a CEO where we have to be a CEO. And this is a changed perception of CEO comes coach.
Hmm.
It has given a good result.
Okay.
That
Okay.
could be the way I will put it into.
Hmm. Okay.
And the generally in management, we have two system of evaluation. You have your performance. You have your peers have to rate, and your reportees have to rate you.
Hmm.
And we always neglect that second part. Management as a board also try to cover up because the CEO performs. But when this changes happen, your people below brings out the best. Productivity has gone up 25%. And you are able to visualize, you don't need to bring in that much people. You are able to utilize your skill to get the best out of your stakeholders and your team. I think that's a phenomenal concept which makes a person successful.
Hmm. Great. So I hear you say CEO role and coach's role, they both are merged, right? Great. Wonderful. Yes. Padmini, Venkat, any of you?
Happy to go next.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. Padmini, yeah.
Ujjwal, two things happened for me once I started this coach training with Coach Arya. One is self-awareness. Um, I understand myself better. I know what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, and I don't think suddenly all my weaknesses have turned into, I've been able to kind of put them behind me or I've become a perfect person. I don't think that has happened. But the awareness has taught me to, be aware of what's going on in certain situations, how I tend to overreact. So there's a certain amount of self-regulation which has come into the way I behave, in the way I conduct myself. The other thing that I notice is that, one of the first things that we learned was unconditional positive regard for whoever's sitting right across from you. So again, like I said, I don't think I look at everyone with that positive regard, but there's definitely an attempt to not rush in to judge someone. I think I am looking at people in a very different light, whoever I'm working with, my immediate team, the others in the firm. The minute you start doing that, you realize that your conversations have become deeper, uh,
Hmm.
more meaningful, and you're actually thinking a lot more about what can I do to make this person much better. When
Hmm.
you start working the way a coach would, how do I help this person, it just completely changes the way your equation is with them. There's also a lot of stress on building some kind of a relationship. In the
Hmm.
past, I know a lot of my interactions were very transactional. It was
Hmm.
work and out. But now I make it an effort to, build some kind of a relationship with the other person because I know it energizes them more, it motivates them more. So these are some of the little things that I've noticed in the way I have started conducting myself. And I agree with Ilan. I don't think in my mind there is a coach and a CEO. I think both of them are one. It's just that I have started doing my job better. Is
Hmm.
I get.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So they are no longer polarities, but they've merged into one, right? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Ujjal, I will start with where Padmini left it. Is that you know that point about there is nothing called an office role and a coach role.
Hmm.
Because the reason is that the moment you start putting it in compartments, then you're actually two-faced, or you are behaving differently in different situations.
Sure. Sure.
First things that as coaching teaches you is to be um, the point that Padmini made is to be having unconditional positive regard. That's applicable for anybody in life. I mean,
Hmm.
whether it is your husband, wife, child, father, mother, whoever it is, I think, or a colleague in office. So that's something which is which comes out as a big point. The second
Hmm.
thing is that if I look back many years back, I was, and I'm still a workaholic. I'm not denying that, but I was a lot more task oriented. I think
Hmm.
once I got into the coaching in 2014, 2015 is when I started balancing that out. That and moving to the spot that it's actually finally it's humans which who achieve things. It's not the
Hmm.
activities which achieve things in life.
Yeah.
So how do you actually balance that emotive part of it? And the
Wonderful.
and the other thing is that again, I'd like to distinguish it and say it is not that X level of person should be a coach, Y level person a coach. I think it's a mindset. Coaching is a mindset. Coaching is
Yeah.
not it's not a degree. It's not a it's a mindset. And every human being, if they tend to pick up those concepts and live it, live as part of their thing, it would actually benefit the larger world. I have
Hmm.
seen myself, my own, the way I interact with my team, I've become far accommodative. I kind of, I allow others to speak a lot more than I do. Uh, there's been a lot of change. And then the other critical thing is that I've also been able to balance my life much better.
Hmm.
In the overall scheme of things, again, I should thank Ram for that, for making me go through that wheel of life as part of the coaching journey, is to look at is that finally a human being is a set of a lot of things. How do you kind of achieve everything in an optimal manner rather than pursue one and at the cost of other? So these are all concepts that I think uh, each one of us learn over a period of time, and it's a journey. Again, I would say uh, you know every day we get up, we have to remind ourselves that we need to live that principles.
Wow. Great. So, so I think what is coming up collectively is the moment one commits to change and sustains that practice, that transformation happens. And then, as Ilan mentioned, it's difficult to go back to the old self, right? And like what you are saying, that every day you just need to connect and commit to yourself. Okay, so if I can check with you, we are also going to take some questions in a moment from here, but maybe one last one from my side is that how this whole, new addition to your persona, which is now, of course, embedded into you, how it is helping you to make some of the high stakes decisions or manage high stress situations with is there a change the way you are handling it, and how are you managing stress, which is a side effect of it?
I think this time we'll start with Padmini.
I was so happy. I would always be the second one, no matter where we started from. That's a great question as well. I think it's a very simple answer for me. I have become a much more happier person ever since I started this coaching journey. So, uh, stressful situations, they don't affect me as much as they would in the past. There's also a certain amount of detachment that I've been able to bring in, when it
Hmm.
comes to work. So everything doesn't become uh, an emergency. Everything is not life threatening, so as to speak, which would be
Hmm.
my default state in the past. I think
Hmm.
I've become calmer,
Hmm.
and uh, that has and it's given me a lot of perspective. So to that extent, it's helped me a lot in racing through this period of the pandemic and the stress. So yeah, absolutely, that's helped a lot.
Great. Great. Hmm.
Maybe I will add to Padmini. I will put it in two parts to this question. Part number one, are we able to improve our decision making process? We started changing ourselves from telling more to listening more.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a lot of information available. You need to make a decision. You are running pillar to post to understand that information. So that situation has changed. Second, I said a point in the beginning, you build a trust with the team. It is mutual. They trust me, I started trusting them now. So there is a lot of risk taking in the decision making.
Mm.
Be able to believe that, yes, I take a stretch of another 15%, they will do it. Number three, once you start controlling emotions, a lot of ideas comes. We learned a simple thing of intuition and body language. I'll give you a simple example. Yesterday, I was supposed to go and meet the directors on a critical decision. So all are busy. I was busy. In a normal method, I would have shot out, yes, I agree to this point of yours. A mail would have gone. But after going through this class sessions, I said, no, I need to understand their body language. I need to look at their eyes. How do they react to this? Spoken and unspoken. And I said, I would like to meet and talk. Surprised by everybody. And when I went for this discussion, the words were confirming, but the body language was telling different. So the decision making process has become totally effective in this. I want to add another point. I think a CEO as a coach, what it means. I know the tricks of the trade. I know what a CEO will do mistakes, what is the weakness, where is the strong point in strategy, what is the weak points in execution. So if I sit across as a coach to a CEO, it will be enormous development for that particular CEO because wavelength matches. It's a win-win for each of us. If anybody comes in from the other forte, you come as a coach from a HR forte or a finance forte, the person has to understand the intricacies of running a business. What is the expectation of the stakeholders? When we become a coach, we are able to understand it. Journey has been crossed in 50%. It's something like in Mahabharata, Arjun chose only Krishna because he's a coach. You know the result of the war.
Okay.
Over to
Sure.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, Ujjwal, couple of things very clearly, how does it affect decision making? I can share, what I have gone through over the last 5, 6, 7 years is that, in the past, maybe 8 years back, decision used to be purely rational. Now, I give a lot of weightage to the emotional part of it. Nothing in the world can be achieved by technology or processes if people are not there in it. Technology, processes, people, three pillars. So if you handle the people part of it, your emotive connected with the people, the rest of things happen. So any decision making, for example, bring people as the at the center, and the decision making improves. That's one.
Mm.
The
Mm.
second thing that happens also very clearly is that when you do that, the stress levels also come down substantially. The third important thing is that, again, this is something which comes as part of coaching. What we say is that, you know, in the past, if you decide everything and tell people, you may not get the full, you know, the buy-in of the team. When you do it in a more constructive and in a manner where you involve people and people come out with what they need to do, the chances of it succeeding is a lot higher than just one person taking a call and doing it. So even from a good business decision making, it
Mm.
kind of helps when we use those principles of getting people to say what they want to do, how they want to do, so they have a buy-in, and the chances of success is much higher. So I've seen this
Great.
in many cases in terms of So in a pure decision making, by putting that together, the chances of a business succeeding is much higher.
Great point. I think it's about creating sense of shared ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, Ram.
Yeah, I had a question, Ujjwal. I mean, and for the panel actually, and they have a couple of questions which have come up here.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys talked about your experiences, and you talked a lot about what you learned from coaching. And I would like you now to face you with the mirror of reality that I see. There are many people who advertise on LinkedIn saying that they only coach CEOs. Unfortunately, there are very, very few CEOs that I have coached. I coached Venkat, but his CEO, I don't think wanted any coaching. I still remember, unfortunately, the three things that Venkat wanted me to coach him on. I can repeat them. I don't want to embarrass him now. But the point I'm making is, in your life today, an actual experience, how many other leaders, even if they are not CEOs, business heads, and so on and so forth, and Venkat, you in the Tata group, and you, Ilan, in your company and others, and Padmini, you must be meeting a lot of clients. How many of them do you really see willing to be coached? How many of them have such huge egos that they know everything? And I mean, I see the difference that you guys have been coached at some point in time when you're relatively probably junior, and therefore that made an impact on you. And today you are embracing coaching. So, what are the challenges are you going to face when you set out there to coach CEOs?
I'm happy to go first. Uh, uh, Ram, I faced this problem exactly what you're talking about because about 3 years back, I spoke with my managing partner at the time, and we decided that let's get some coaches on board, and we will get our entire partnership coached. It'll help reduce the stress levels. It'll help them a lot with doing their jobs better. We had a full on board meeting where we proposed this, and every single partner refused, point blank. Now when I think about it, I think the way we put it, so huge egos, whatever you want to bring into it. The funny part was that whenever there would be a break, they each one would come up to me separately and say, you know what, Padmini, I don't need it, but that one needs it. So each and every partner felt that everyone else needed it, but for themselves. So the only solution that I see, at least in the industry that I'm working in, is that you train them to be coaches. You tell them that, you know what, you're doing a very good job, and they are brilliant lawyers. Why don't we would like you to train yourself to become a coach, because it'll add to what you already know. It'll help you do your job better. That is a better sell with them. I also think that's also important because, as Venkat mentioned, coaching is a mindset. So, if you want someone to practice the principles every single day, you do not need them to be coached. What you need them is to become a coach themselves. And the good part is, from what I'm learning about the process of training to be a coach, is that you get coached anyways in the process. But what you also do is you handle the egos. So you don't tell them that you need to be coached. You tell them that, listen, we're going to train you to become a coach, because then you'll play a much bigger role in the organization. So that is how I see this playing out, and that is how I know I will sell it internally in a few weeks if I can.
Venkat, you want to add?
Yeah. Um, if I step back and look at it, first of all, there is a big confusion about at various levels about coaching and mentoring. So that's one big difference that people need to be aware of. That a lot of times people think that coaching is quote unquote mentoring. So people know everything, how to run a business. This is not how to run a business. Coaching is not about how to run a business. It's to be a better person. It's to be a better leader. It is to be a better human being. I think that's what is coaching finally will help it. So that is something which needs to, it's not easy to demonstrate it. That's one. The second part of it is that in these things, I would say that it's better to catch people young. And say, for example, if we look at the three of us who are here, uh, we were coached when we were much junior. So as we grew up, we have understood the value of what is coaching. So maybe we can make a change in where we are. So uh, so can we start catching hold of the middle and junior managers and get them to get coached, so that as they keep growing up, they understand the value of coaching and they become much better managers. I think that's a maybe, I know it's a longer journey. I think that's a better way to do it rather than catch hold of different chairmen or managing directors and say go through a coaching journey. It's very difficult. It's not going to be difficult to convince people.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, Ram, I will add to what Padmini and Venkat have said that. What you said is an excellent point. I was quite arrogant, highly egoistic. I believe I know everything. I don't want to be coached. There is also another feeling coaching means somebody identified I have a weakness. They are using this as a system to downgrade my rating to look at. There is a lot of misconception about coaching. But what happens when you see a pandemic like this, when you see a outside competition where you are pushed to a corner, you're looking for some kind of an avenue to upgrade yourself. It is the lack of awareness. If you look back some time back, mobile phones have been made as a prestige issue till Mr. Ambani comes out. Today, a watchman has a mobile phone. I don't say we have come out of our egos. I would say that you have few examples standing across before you who has understood the benefit of coaching. And it's a challenging journey. I would, if we take the numbers of our CEOs who are successful year on year and bringing up a growth as per the stakeholders' expectation, the turnaround ratio is 3 years. A long serving CEO crossing 15 years is very limited numbers. So that shows the satisfaction of stakeholders. The challenge to all of us is how do we educate the so-called high performing CEO community? I agree, we have to catch people young, but when it comes to a cost cutting, I will first cut the training, coaching, all other areas. We may have to find a mechanism to spread the knowledge and importance of the end result achieved out of the coaching to the promoters or the board members or the CEO. Today, government is looking for independent directors, and there is not so many directors are available, and people are afraid of taking a position. Coaching may help them to be highly skillful to do this. So, to sum it up, yes, most of the CEOs are egoistic, but they need a change. Otherwise, they will not survive today. It's a challenging scenario. It's a strategic approach we may have to adopt to break this market. That will be a contribution to the growth of industrialization of India.
Hmm.
I hope I try to make a point to you.
Sure. Okay, so in last few 3 or 4 minutes that we have, a quick one as I'm reading through the questions, and this may be a rapid fire one, so maybe answer in yes or no or very short sentences from you. Um, how much is it difficult to surrender the ego in a process to become a coach and get the fruits that you have just shared with us through the session today?
Beginning is difficult, later on is easy.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
A little tough in the beginning, but it gets better.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time and effort, but the fruits are really sweet.
Hmm. Okay. So as they say in theory, you that let go to let come, right? So that's what I hear you say. And anything towards the end, the message that you wish to give it to our participants today. Many of them are coaches themselves. Many of them are CEOs. So any one or two sentences, any message that you want to give it to them, any view from the top that would help them to, you know, learn little more better.
I would sum it up like this. Coaching is not for a CEO. Coaching is first for me as an individual. It changes
Hmm.
a lot.
Okay.
Second, to my position as a CEO. Third, it helps the organization also to improve a lot.
Hmm.
Probably a concept like we started thinking about awarding the best performer with the coaching opportunity. These kind of employee retention ideas
Hmm.
will definitely take us through a different platform.
Okay.
To sum
Sure.
it up, coaching is a journey. It's the process of learning ourselves. It
Hmm.
updates us.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Thank you. Padmini?
Well, I just wanted to add one point. I think coaching is very important for, as Venkat mentioned, at some of the lower levels, especially for women. The reason why I say this is because I've been mentoring kids, from the time they leave law school to the time they become partners. And what I've noticed is that while there's a lot of noise about, how women tend to hit a glass ceiling after a certain point, when I'm working with them, what I've also realized is sometimes that's not the case. You know, some of us, many a times it's the conversations that we are having in our own head, coupled with imposter syndrome. So sometimes women decide to give up at a very, at the last minute
Yeah.
because they're not confident about it. And I
Hmm.
think they could really, really benefit a lot from good coaching. So I think we should definitely concentrate on that in our organization.
Hmm. Great point. Great point. So when organization is ready, but women is taking time to get ready, this could accelerate the process. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, I'll go last. I would put it in a few bullet points. One is, of course, it's a self-discovery journey. Makes us more and more less judgmental towards people. I would say makes us more and more less judgmental because it's impossible to say 100% non-judgmental. It's a journey. So makes us more and more less judgmental towards people.
Hmm.
And clearly, it's a way of being more peaceful with oneself and with others.
Okay.
Ujjwal, before you close, I just want to
Yeah.
add this mainly for the audience. What we would sincerely request you is, in any case, we will go through Ujjwal, Magda, and I through the chat and pick up those points that you've asked and try and answer it through some forum or another. But much more importantly, we want to, as Magda said, and Ujjwal is planning, that we would like to create a series of such webinars where we are in conversation with CEOs and maybe some of you who are here in the audience yourself are CXOs. Um, what really I would like to request you is that many of coaches are quite possibly looking to make executive coaching a career, and many of you here are professionals. And so, if there is the value that you want to get out of these sessions in terms of questions you have for them as potential clients or potential sponsors, what is it that you might like to have us ask, or in future put down questions which we can ask for on your behalf? So please do engage with us in this kind of views that you can share with us so we can really make it far more powerful in terms of a forum that helps you and also people like Ilan here, Padmini and Venkat, who come out of their CXO CEO chairs to be able to share their viewpoints with you. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Ujjwal.
Yeah. Thank you, Ram. And thank you, wonderful panel. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. We know that there were many questions we couldn't address in the interest of time, but keep them pouring in, keep writing to us. We'll be more than happy to address it offline as well with you. And whatever time of the day or night that you are in, whatever part of the world, but wishing you a great time ahead and happy holidays ahead as we are entering in December month. So have a great time. Thank you for joining in. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
wonderful session.
Thank you for this
Most welcome.
opportunity. Thanks. Bye.
You guys. Bye.
Thank you.